Welcome back, everyone, to These Aren't the Nerds You're Looking For. Kevin Horde here.
Lorenzo Fon here. How's it going, my man?
Man, it's another day. It's Taco Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday. It's nice and warm here. We always talk about the weather, it seems like.
We do.
How is life going otherwise?
You know, it's hot here. It's busy at work. Yeah.
That's in the middle of summer for us, yeah. We're moving along, man. I've stopped counting how many weeks into self quarantine we are. I did up until like week 12, I think. So,
man, I don't even know.
I think we're like week 16. You know, so
I mean,
how you doing over there?
Here in Missouri, you know, things are doing what they're doing, and nobody seems to care as far as leadership goes. So terrifying, man. Yep.
Yeah. How's it going personally? You know, just otherwise, family.
Yeah, things are good. Evan's second birthday was the last day that we recorded. So recently, I've recently christened 2-year-old. Christened probably isn't the right word there, but yeah, Evan turned 2. Baby nerd. She's saying new stuff every day.
It's been 2 years, man.
I know. This whole thing started long before she was even born.
God, right, exactly. So weird to think about. Oh my God. But we're moving forward, man. Where are we at now?
We are season 5, episode 4, The Soft War. This is the 95th episode of the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
So we're coming up on the Centurion here in, about a month. That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
And then I guess it's all downhill from there, man. Hopefully not as far as quality goes, but yeah, season 5 episode
of the show
4.
we're reviewing or the show we're hosting.
Both. No, I meant we're on the downhill slide. We're rounding third. We're getting there. We're closing in.
Only another third still?
No,
it sounds like so
I was making a baseball reference.
Oh, we're rounding the third base.
Rounding third base.
Nope. I don't like that analogy either. Don't like it at all.
All right. Moving on.
What do we got? So you said Soft War.
The Soft War, written by Chris Collins, directed by Kyle Dunleavy.
Yep.
Original release date is October 20th, 2012 in the United States. I think in Canada it was 1 day earlier, if I remember correctly.
Yep. That's what I got as well here.
Yeah, production 417. Fortune cookie this week. Struggles often begin and end with the truth. Who you got here?
I don't know. This one sounds kind of Obi-Wan-ish. Like,
I picked Mace Windu on this one.
Ew. I like that.
I don't know why he jumped into my head, but I immediately leaned into him for one reason or another, and whatever explanation I had for that is gone
now
from my memory.
Yeah, I like it though. It's probably maybe because like in Revenge of the Sith, once Anakin like starts revealing information to him, he's like he is on a quest to confirm these truths that Anakin has presented in front of him. Maybe I don't know.
I'm down, man.
That's what I got for that.
Cool.
Yeah,
I'm with it. I like it. Mace Windu it is. Newsreel this week starts with a recap. I got 3 notes on it, which tells me that these 3 things stuck out. The rebels elect a new leader, right?
Right.
So that's Steela. Obi-Wan and Anakin leave. They've already left. They're gone.
Yep.
And the Separatists send for reinforcements. And that's what we got there. And then we get into the episode proper. You got anything else for the newsreel? Anything stick out to you?
Yeah, it was a straight up recap for sure. Yeah, straight up recap of the last handful of episodes, or actually mainly just the last episode.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the first episode was all about
The training.
Yes, which
Yeah.
doesn't matter beyond like
No.
the one time they used the droid poppers,
Yep.
and now it's just shoot 'em up time all the time.
I'm not gonna lie, real quick. Actually, there is another thing on this newsreel. It has, in terms of our recording, been a slight gap between the previous episode and this one. Not long, not our longest gap by any means.
A couple weeks.
Yeah, but a handful of weeks. And I'm not gonna lie, I knew where we still were in the story, but I will say this time the newsreel definitely helped because I had already kind of forgotten the major points of the last episode, which is probably bad, right?
No, I think that's good because it gave you the opportunity to organically experience this newsreel for what it is meant to be, and that is a catch you up.
Right.
And sounds like it did its job for you.
It did do its job of like reminding me of those big details, but like in terms of I think that other kind of broader review criteria that I kind of throw in, it's like, is this episode gonna be memorable? Is this an episode I remembered before? And the fact that the previous episode that we reviewed just did not stick in my head is I know we weren't kind to that episode, but it reaffirms that for me at this point.
Yeah, I was gonna say, according to my notes, you gave it a thumbs down. So
Yeah. So it's as the newsreel played, I went, yes, that was not an enjoyable episode. That's right. Thanks for reminding me, newsreel. Yeah.
These are the things that happened. And what's happening in this episode? We get a market scene.
Again, yeah.
All of the common folk are just kind of out and about doing their thing. All of the Guerrera clan have their hoods up and they're sneaking around.
Yeah.
All the time. Like, if there is a large group of people,
Yep.
if somebody's got like a helmet or a head covering or a hood, they are the insurgents, I guess.
I think they do start. They're officially called rebels, right? Yeah. The newsreel refers them as the rebels.
Correct.
So yeah, whatever you want to call them, rebels, insurgents, terrorists.
So we see a couple of people, hooded figures, dropping off some something or others, right? Lux drops a little metal disc. Ahsoka drops a little metal disc. And then Steela has kind of a small group with her, and she's up on a rooftop, right? And then she's like counting out like 1, 2, 3, and then they're gonna do something. And I don't remember what it is because I was distracted by like her counting method, and she does like a come hither thing with her finger for one, and then like a double come hither, and then like a triple come hither, and then she points and they like jump over a wall. It's just like backwards of the way that people normally count.
Right.
It stuck out to me as just odd. Like, I did watch this episode a few times, and each time I'm like, why did she do that? It just looks so weird. And then they're doing something, and every time distracted.
Yeah.
So they attack some droids. Saw runs up to, and is this an MTT or an AAT? I don't know. It's the tank, right?
Yeah, it's a tank. Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. He is talking kind of via comm to his sister Steela, and he does say there's a multi-troop transport followed up by the all-terrain troop transport, whatever the AAT
I'm
stands
not gonna lie,
for.
these are details I did not pick up.
I thought that was nice because that's like it. That's what the ships are called, right? The AATs and the MTTs. But he puts like the actual acronym behind it.
Yeah.
At first, and then like he kind of goes back and forth. Anyway, earlier I said that their training was pretty much inconsequential, but he does use some of their training here where you got to open both hatches and throw a bomb in both hatches of the tank. He uses a total of 4 bombs on this one tank.
Mm-hmm.
He opens the first hatch, throws one in, nonchalantly kind of walks up to the top, shoots the droid, throws in 2 bombs, and then jumps off as it's exploding, like turns around and throws another one to like blow up the side of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is this overkill? Is this overconfidence, or is this
I had a question too. Is this the first time we see them with actual explosives?
I feel like we did see some explosives last week, but I don't remember specifically.
Like they used the tank to shoot at the generator.
Oh, that's right. Then
but
yes.
I think they were still using poppers for the actual droids because there was that emphasis on like not harming citizens with last week's episode.
Yeah, well, that started like 2 weeks ago when Anakin was like, we need to go in and help these people out and train them. And the Jedi Council is like, no. And he was like, oh, we'll just use like non-lethal weaponry that is targeted at non-organics.
Right.
And now they just have actual blasters and explosives.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I that part stood out to me more than the other stuff where I was like, because even with the tank stuff, they just threw in the poppers when we saw it previously. Mm-hmm. And then in this one, when things started like actually blowing up, and I think even grenades are lobbed from the rooftop of these buildings into the groups of droids.
Yeah.
Things like that.
For sure.
So there was a lot kind of happening. And then the fact that then Saw takes on the tank as a single person where everything else we had seen in the training was it's a team effort, and they were like stressing that because like the challenge was like, oh, the rebels can't work together because they're trying to show off, blah blah blah.
Right, because their ego is getting in the way of their success,
right. So for this, it's like I guess it's supposed to show how far they've come is what I will try and positively take out of that.
Yeah, and you know how I always get stuck on like time frame. So like how long has it been? So we decided that, or at least I decided that between the first episode of the story arc, which was a war on 2 fronts, and then last week's episode, Front Runners, I decided it was like overnight.
Yeah.
And then between Front Runners and the Soft War, it definitely seems just like a continuation of what just happened. So relatively quick turnaround, but their skill level in their ability to take on the droids and do their rebelness is increasing faster than I think the time allotted would provide.
You mean like 72 hours is enough for Saw to become like an ultra badass and take on a tank by himself with explosives that who knows where that came from in the last, again, 72 hours?
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising. Maybe. I don't really know. I guess those Jedi are really good trainers. But my point was that we're definitely moving quickly through the timeline of this war on 2 fronts, right? Or no, the soft war, I guess.
The soft war, whatever the hell that means.
I really want to come back to that later.
Well, hopefully
I just had a
remember
thought
to get back to that. Yeah. Carry on. Continue. So where do we end up next after this droid platoon is taken out?
We get Steela's speech.
Yep.
That's what these little metal discs were. They're projectors, right? They're holo projectors.
Are holo projectors that can project big more expensive than the ones you can hold in your hand?
Nah, it's like a focus, man.
That's all it is. It's just like
I think so.
It's a regular projector that you just go, oh, make it embiggen this.
Yeah, I mean, like
300.
Like if you get a projector and you move it further away from the wall, the image gets bigger.
Right. But there's still like a loss of quality.
Yeah.
To some degree, whereas like this, but like we're talking a huge difference here with like the ones you hold in your hand, like what the hologram is like 6 inches. But the hologram of Steela, some of them look like they're maybe like 50 feet tall.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Right, like that. We're talking like Godzilla, like original Godzilla size at that point. Like, So that's what threw me off. Like, and like we get close-ups of the holograms that look like totally fine, like not like blurred out at all. You know,
Yeah, I no.
there's
I
no
do.
there's no resolution limitations at all
No,
on this.
not
Yeah.
in holo
Yeah.
technology.
So okay.
My question would be, how does the hologram know how big to make something?
Right. Is that something you set before or?
Right.
Yeah.
Like if Commander Cody is holding a little holo projector
Mhm.
and he's got Obi-Wan Kenobi standing in his hand, but then you know that when you cut over to Obi-Wan Kenobi, like Commander Cody is like life size in front of him, like kneeling with his hand
Right.
up. How does the holo projector know how big to make something?
Or like, do you accidentally set it where you're like, oh shit, I had it on like the 20-meter tall setting. Shit, let me adjust that to.
How embarrassing that
Yeah.
could be. How embarrassing.
Well, like, what are the rules on that? Like, if you're in a room and you actually accidentally have that set up, like, do you just see a leg and it goes into the ceiling and it gets cut off there? Like, nobody else can see it outside, right? Like, it can't go through stuff, or can it? Like,
I think your first assumption there is correct. You would get like some laser light scattering on the ceiling or something,
Right.
but it's not going to go. It's not going to go
doesn't go
through
through.
solid objects, right?
have we ever? But we've seen people like stick a hand into a hologram, right? Like,
Yes, but I think if you just like took a whole table and like put it over the hologram, then it would stop it.
then that would stop it.
Yes.
Okay. Like, it needs to cut off the full.
The full radius of the thing.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
the full latitude
Yep.
of the hologram, and then everything gets cut. But if there's like 1 centimeter that's like left exposed, then it goes around that and rebuilds the whole thing.
Maybe, or maybe there's like a wedge cut out of it where kind of like, there's some angle of dispersion there.
Okay. No, yeah, no, I'm more curious on this now. Very, very curious on how this all works. All right.
The next time that I buy a new holo projector,
You let me know.
yeah, we're going to test this out. Okay.
So then what's do we cover the content of her speech yet?
No. And
Carry on,
I have
sir.
another note before the content of her speech. Like, so she, like, they blow some shit up. She weirdly finger counts or whatever.
Yes.
And then she stands up and she says to the community, she says, brothers and sisters, do not be afraid, something, right? And then she hits a button on her wrist gauntlet.
Yep.
This sets off like a chime on Lux's wrist communicator and Ahsoka's wrist communicator, and then they both have to hit a button to turn on the holo projection. Wouldn't it be easier to just like hit the button and like Steela hits the button and then the holo projectors come on? Like, why is there this secondary step?
I don't know. I was wondering that too. It was weird. It was a weird way to involve Steela and Lux, or Ahsoka and Lux when.
The only thing that I could think of is, say Lux went to like drop his holo projector, okay, but wasn't able to place it correctly, and then he's like surrounded by droids or something, and Steela like turns her thing on, and it exposes him as being a
One of the rebels.
rebel fighter.
That sort of makes sense. But, like, why isn't it still something you just, like, activate on the unit itself, right? Like, don't turn on unless I hit this button, but that's still connected to Steela's wristband, right?
So that like when he puts it down, he would hit the button to activate it.
Right.
That totally seems like the way that things should work. And then
So-
nobody accidentally catches her speech about kings.
Right. Yeah.
Which is basically King Rash is a traitor. He sold us out to the Separatists. And the true king is Dendup and
Dendup.
Dendup.
Which is the weirdest name to try and say. Yeah.
And that's the hot points of her speech, right?
Yep.
We get an establishing shot of the palace. King Rash really likes fruit. Every time we see him, he's like sitting on his throne eating fruit. We do have a couple of new characters. One kind of new character. The tactical droid Kalani is there, and then we meet General Tandin. I like his design.
Yeah.
I don't know why. He reminded me of some character. He's just like this big, gruff-looking dude with a wide-ass white mustache and a flat top.
Yeah, just a very straightforward, like, general look about him.
He's a general.
Yeah. Like, he's kind of like a more squared-off Yularen in that regard, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, very strong features.
I kind of agree with that.
Yeah.
I like the way he looks, though. He was cool.
Yeah. It's cool.
He's all right.
Cool guy.
Don't have any complaints yet.
Yeah. No.
Out of nowhere, some random droid rolls forward and then projects Stila out of his projector eye. And then Tannen is like, yeah, we've identified Stila as the leader. And then her brother Saw is involved, and Lux Bontari, he's involved too. Kalani's pissed. He's like, oh, you didn't tell me? And he's like, well, just did. How about that?
Right.
And then the king brings Dendup back in. This guy always seems to just be, like, poor King Dendup just seems to be waiting, like, outside the door.
Because he's always, like, ready to go.
I mean,
he's
right there.
Yeah.
Rash is like, bring him in. And then they open the doors and he's there. And he comes in, and the king tells him that he's going to be executed, right?
Yep.
And then I think we cut over to Stila at that point. I don't know. They're trying to get the king to, like, admit that he's behind it all. And he's like, but you keep me locked in my cell, and I don't have any communication. When would I have time to do this?
Exactly. Which is a very fair point. I don't understand what King Rash is trying to say here. It's weird.
I think he's just kind of stuck on, like, it has to be you. And even Kalani's like, it has to be you. Like, you're the one behind it. So, like, logic says that it's you. Must be you. Right. And then they decide to kill him because they're going to execute him to keep the public in line.
Yes, they're figuring without the figurehead that there will be no cause for rebellion.
Okay. Is that a good plan?
No, definitely not.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Rebellions are bigger than one people, generally speaking. So
yeah, we cut over to Stila and her gang, and some rebel fighter that sounds kind of like Tommy from Rugrats comes up and announces that King Dendup is going to be killed. Ahsoka basically says, oh, this might work in our favor because if he is executed, he'll turn out to be a martyr, and then people will be on our side, which is such a cold way of looking at this. Saw wants to go bust him out of jail. Stila does not like that idea. She says, no, we gotta wait. We gotta let him do the thing, and we'll save him later or something. So, of course, Saw goes anyway. And Stila sends the rebel fighter that gave them the information of the execution.
I don't believe she's named in the episode, but her name is Dono. Or Dono.
Yeah, so we hear her name in the first episode. She may have been called out by name last episode.
Right.
And I think it's Dono.
D-O-N-O. So she is in fact a named character of some sort. But
I feel like this is one of those dumb jokes where it's like somebody was like, who is that? Like, what's that girl's name? Like,
don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. It would not surprise me. So Dono follows Saw. Saw does get into the jail, which
with Batman powers, by the way. He has like that Batman grappling hook.
And he's got super strong shoulders apparently, because he just has a baton that shoots out a harpoon up like 5 stories.
Yep.
And
flies up, no problem.
It just pulls him up there.
even does like the full Arkham Asylum video game thing where he's like on a ledge above a droid, waits for the droid to like get out of there before he like makes a move, sort of thing.
Jumps down in, rips the droid's head off. This is a good, like, the go-to move of Saw Gerrera. We've seen him do this a couple of times now.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with that. I kind of like it as, like, a new way of disabling droids.
Oh, just full decapitation, like with bare hands.
Yeah, just rip their head off. And, of course, sometimes, their body drops and sometimes it doesn't. So
right. Whatever is needed at the moment.
Yeah, but then, so he talks to the king, or the ex-king, and the king's like, who are you? And he should have said, I'm Batman. Didn't. And he introduces himself like, hey, I'm Saw Gerrera, and the king's like, are you one of those meddling kids? And he's like, no, like, we're freedom fighters. We're doing this for your freedom. And the king's basically like, fuck, this is all my fault. Like, stupid King Rash was right. I am in charge of all this, and I didn't even know it. So at that point, Saw he's like, all right, you're coming with me. And then we're introduced to one-way shields, which is a thing that I don't remember seeing in the past.
I was going to ask you the same thing.
I think
how
they're
does this
super
work?
cool. What's your thought on them?
It makes sense, I guess. I mean, technically speaking, is a one-way shield exactly how the ray shields on the droids work, right? They shoot out, but you can't get shot in. Like, does that make sense? Or
yeah, maybe.
Right? That's how that would have to work, right?
I guess so. I never really thought about it.
Because now that I'm thinking, yeah, the design, they're like the end of the gun turret is still within the shield, not like through it.
Right. You're talking about droidicas specifically.
Yeah, the droidicas. Yeah.
Yeah.
But even then, like, I feel like other shields of like energy shields we've seen, you've been able to shoot through, but not. They have been one way to some degree.
Yeah, but this shield actually is a physical barrier in one direction over the other.
Mm-hmm.
So this prison is on a rooftop of a cathedral, and in between two of the spires is where King Dendup is held captive.
Yep.
So Saw is able to jump down into this open roof onto this patio. I don't know what roof portico, right? And then when he shoots his harpoon back out, it hits the shield.
And sets off an alarm. Yeah, which that part I found almost more interesting than the one-way shield thing. The concept of one-way shield in the Star Wars universe in no way bothered me.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you. It's like I can't think of it having been used in this explicit way before.
Yeah, I totally agree.
But again, with like the things of like droidicas and stuff, that's why like in my mind, I didn't have that moment you had of like, is this the first time we've seen this? You know, like
I think it's the first time that like a name has been given to it, and I was thinking more like less energy projectile and more like physical barrier.
Right.
Because even like the shields around the droidicas, like you can get a physical object through it, but it has to be moving at like a slow enough pace.
I guess the idea of a one-way shield was like, even if they try to like just slowly climb up, I guess it would still stop them.
Yep.
Because I was thinking maybe because he was shooting a grappling hook, is that still too fast? You know, they made that whole point of like you gotta like gently roll that grenade up in there, you know. But he's shooting a grappling hook at high speeds because then it has to like pierce brick or stone of some sort. I
think even if they would have crawled their way out in a slow manner, they would have encountered a physical barrier there.
I agree with you on the way that the one-way shield is assumed to have worked based on what we see. I agree with you, especially because again it's setting off an alarm and they get like all the droids around them immediately.
Yeah, and then isn't there like floodlights basically that like shine down
Oh yeah.
like prison floodlights?
Oh yeah.
And then Dono is watching from the ground, which is like 5 to 7 stories down.
Mm-hmm.
And she is looking through some binoculars or whatever. But she's like, "Oh no, Dono," and then runs back to the secret base, which is just like in the alley, a couple alleys over.
She gets there real quick. Yeah.
We do have a little moment with Stila and Lux. Stila's like sad and stuff, and Lux like tries to comfort her, and then weirdly she drops the line of like, "Don't look at me like that," which I guess maybe is a callback to like Anakin and Padme. I don't really know.
Yeah, it's a weird, heavy-handed manner of trying to remind the audience that they are trying to build a relationship beyond friendship for these two characters.
Right.
It does its job. I don't think it does its job well, but it does it,
Mm-hmm.
It's there. It's weird.
So then he's like, "Okay," and he just kind of backs off, and they're like, whatever, and then they're just chatting again. Then we cut over to Ahsoka, and she's on a holo call with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin.
Mm-hmm.
This happens multiple times, and every time it happens, it's weird. Like, you made a point to get rid of these two guys, like, out of this story arc, but then you keep popping them in, like, randomly. Ahsoka's just, like, talking to him.
Yeah.
And
please help. I need guidance on this thing.
Yeah, she's just kind of, like, I don't know. I wouldn't say, like, lamenting to them, but she's not even, like, really filling them in. It's just kind of like an idle chat.
Yeah.
And she's getting just kind of generic advice back, like, Anakin says, Obi-Wan says, like, the king represents hope, like, which is what the people need.
Mm-hmm.
And then Anakin tells her, remember purpose before feelings.
Yeah.
But we don't really, Lux is hitting on Stila, and Ahsoka's just, like, sitting in a hallway, like, "Oh man, we gotta do something about this king. Like, I don't get it." And Anakin's like, "Hey, purpose before feelings, remember." And then Obi-Wan calls it an experiment. He's like, for this experiment to be successful, like, they have to be able to survive on their own. Like, you need to back off. It's all just, like, really weird. Especially Obi-Wan's advice, because the whole point of them going there was to, like, train and observe. So they finished the training. She should only be observing. And she's fighting right alongside with everybody. But she makes a point of saying at different points, like, "Oh, I can't do that. I'm only here to observe." Like, Council wouldn't like that.
It changes back and forth, too, because, like, every now and then they'll say that they're there to observe, but then they're allowed to defend.
Uh-huh.
Which is weird to me. Like, that's a weird distinction, because, like, sometimes she's allowed the use of, like, in the previous episode, the sabers came out, so any droid could see that there is a Jedi presence there. But then when they get to this episode, they kind of pretend that in no way would the droids or any of the separatists know that any of the Jedi are there.
Well, that's because every time the sabers come out, all of the droids end up dead. So if you don't leave survivors, man, they can't tell anybody.
It's just it's a weird point to try and make the distinction between a role of defense or a role of observation and guidance, right?
Yeah.
So that's what kind of throws me off about this weird plot device that they've kind of built into this arc, like, as a whole. So, like, not even just this episode, but I think the 3 episodes we've seen thus far.
Right.
So it's weird, and also it's weird that she's, like, talking in, like, the weird dark hallway to these guys, like.
And there's definitely a random person that, like, walks by, and she's just, like, chit-chatting it up with Obi-Wan and Anakin. Where do you think they are?
I was about to ask you the same thing. So they're at the council, I think.
Okay.
They're at the Jedi Temple, because Ahsoka keeps asking or they mentioned they're like, well, we'll bring it up to the council, which I guess they could still hollow in.
Mm-hmm.
But from our vantage point, they're like still just in like a dark room themselves, which is really weird.
Yeah.
So I got nothing on that one. It's weird. It's a weird little interlude.
It's awkward.
Yes.
And it seems unnecessary.
Very, yes.
It's like I'm probably going to bring this up every time it happens, but I don't understand why you make the point of getting rid of these guys. Like, get these guys out of here. And they both had parting words with Ahsoka, like, hey, this is what you need to do. Like, stick to the mission. You know, don't...
Remember your training.
Right, remember your training. Don't run with your feelings, all that jazz. They should just let her do the thing. But then every time something happens, she's got to, like, call him and give him an update.
Send help. Like...
Yeah, and she's just asking for help all the time, and they're like, Anakin's like, I'll give you irrelevant advice, and Obi-Wan's like, my hands are tied.
Yeah.
The Jedi Council wouldn't like it, even though they sent us all there in the first place. So this is actually where the prison scene happens.
Yeah.
One-way shield, whatever. We cut back to the planning meeting. After Stila and Lux's little interaction, like, she was staring at a map of, I guess, the city.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, gather everybody up. Let's review the plan. And we actually don't see the plan. Like, she's just kind of tidying up, and she's like, there's the plan.
Fantastic. And we'll save the king, and it'll all go according to plan.
I kind of like this because so many times it's like, okay, we're stuck in a pickle. Gather everybody together. Let's talk about what's going to happen the rest of the episode. But this one, it's like, hey, gather everybody up for the plan. And then some other shit happens, and then we cut back to, like, the main group. And she's like, there's the plan. Let's go.
Right. Well, like, under normal, like, heist movie rules, right? Like, there are always two ways about that. So, like, there's the Ocean's 11 route where you tell the audience the plan in order to trick the audience, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the audience is like, oh, here's what's happening. And then, like, Ocean's 11, you get to see every step of where that goes wrong. Or does it go wrong? Question mark, right?
Right.
Then you have, like, the Mission Impossible style. Actually, this is a generalization because Mission Impossible has also done different styles where they reveal the plan goes wrong, we see them get out of it and improvise, right?
Right.
Or we see plan and it goes according to plan, and, like, but then we are not asking questions on why they're doing what they're doing at any given moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the other one where, like, in this one, we just don't know the plan and we're just going to go along for the ride, right? So, and assume they know what they're doing.
Yeah. What do you think the plan is?
I don't know. For this ragtag crew, like, a crew of rebels, it was, my guess would have been go in, shoot, and then disappear back into the crowd. Because that's kind of like what they were doing before, you know?
Okay.
I figured that they were going to try and use the crowd to their advantage of, like, smuggling out, like, grabbing the king, throwing him in the crowd, and then disguising themselves amongst the crowd, right?
Okay. I'm down.
Yeah. That's where I thought they were going.
Yeah. Miss I don't know shows up at some point in time, and she says, like, this is where she fills in that Saw has been captured. She's like, she says, I watched them take him.
Right.
No, you didn't.
Like,
you are a liar.
Yeah, you saw the shield activate.
And then you were like, shit.
And that's it, yeah. You saw the shields, and you heard the alarms, and saw the prison lights.
Yep. So everybody wants to go and rescue Saw, and Steele's like, no, we can't do that. We got to save the king. Ahsoka steps in and then just, like, immediately quotes Anakin, like, purpose before feelings.
Yep.
I guess that was the entire point of that holo call there, and
Just
to
to
know that
build that.
Obi-Wan is just cock blocking everybody with no blasters, right?
Right.
Then we cut over to Saw being tortured,
Yep.
and it's the typical hanging from some energy binders and getting shocked. And they're trying to get him to admit that the king is in charge. Is that what's going on here?
Yeah, something like that.
And he won't do that, and I guess he won't give up their secret hiding base,
Right.
which is basically follow all the people with their hoods up down to the tavern. That's how you get there, you know.
Right.
It's Tandon that's his name. Tandon?
Yeah, Tandon. Yeah.
Tandon is the one that stops the torture because he totally disagrees with Mr. Tactical Kalani. Kalani's like, oh, we need to torture the information out of him, and Tandon's like, it's not going to help anything. You're not getting anywhere.
Right.
So he has a little moment with Saw in a lunchroom. Not really sure. There's like a picnic table. He's like, drink this. It'll bring up your strength. And he's trying to get some info out of Saw. And what Saw says is like, I'm not the traitor. You're the traitor. King Rash sold us out. King Dendup had a choice, and he chose to remain neutral. And he's the true leader of Onderon, not this fake Rash guy. And if you're supporting Rash, then you're not supporting Onderon. So you're the traitor, not me. And then he says something to the effect of resisting isn't terrorism, I think is what he says.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember that exact quote.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is a very calm chat for a prisoner.
Mm-hmm. For a prisoner and a general that at the beginning of the episode was like, we need to do some shit to get the shit to stop.
Right.
And now he's empathizing almost. You know, he's giving him the time of day, like, hey, we don't need to electrocute this guy. Like, let's actually try to be useful in our interrogation here.
Well, Tandon has that like complete moment of like standing there and is like looking around, and he's like, are we the bad guys? Yeah.
Right.
Tandon's definitely having that moment.
He's got some eyebrow wiggling.
Yeah.
You got anything else for this interrogation scene?
Nope.
So after that, we go to the execution. There's a small group of civilians. I don't know what to call these people. What do you call just like the group, the common populace?
Yes.
Onderonians?
Civilians or, Onderons.
What is a person from the city of Isis called?
Ooh.
An Isonite?
Isians? Isisans?
Isonian?
Isisans is... I don't know.
Citizen, that's what we should call them.
Yeah, so these citizens...
So there is a small group of citizens. We see
onlookers.
Yeah, the king is marched out with Saw Gerrera, right?
Yep.
So they're both going to be executed. Tandon is up on a ledge, hiding behind a rampart, watching down. Right.
Yeah.
He is observing. He is doing what Ahsoka is supposed to be doing.
Right.
Of course, King Rash is there. He's eating some fruit. Go figure. And then he uses the fruit to demonstrate the way that this execution device works, and it's like an electro guillotine. I thought this thing was super cool.
Yeah, I liked it. It worked a lot differently than what I thought a Star Wars guillotine should work. It's weird because like there's a ray shield looking thing that's always on, right? And I thought they were going to turn that off, put his head in the thing, and then
Turn it back
show
on.
that turns it back on, right? So the way it works is that King Rash puts the piece of fruit in there, and the shield like holds on to it.
Yeah, like levitates it in place.
Yeah, it like centers the thing, and then like you hit a button, and then it like changes the mode of that shield or something, or like they charge it up.
Do you hit a button, or do you need an external electro source? Because there's two Magna droids that are standing on either side, so they have their electro staffs,
right?
And they both hit like the side / base of it at the same time, and that's when it's activated. And it's like a quick burst of energy, and the piece of fruit is cut in half.
Yes, that's where it loses me, because I don't know why a thing that already has a power source of some sort needs an external jolt of power.
Okay.
Right, in that way. I get it. Like, I agree with you. That's exactly what we see. That just doesn't make any damn sense to me.
Okay.
You know? But the fruit gets cut in half, so, you know, it demonstrates what it does. And it does so efficiently at the very least, right?
Yeah, I thought it was a cool little device. Whether, you know, whatever the mechanics of this thing,
right,
or the electrical operations of it.
Yeah, it's very cool looking for sure. I thought the idea was cool, and the idea of bringing in a guillotine of some sort into the Star Wars universe was a pretty bold move to me. So
yeah.
Not that we haven't had decapitations in the Star Wars universe before, you know?
Yeah, but we haven't had, like, public execution.
Right, yeah.
You know? And immediately what happens after the fruit, King Rash kind of trash talks to Dendup, and then Dendup's head is placed in the space guillotine. So his head is on one side of the red film shield, and his neck and body are on the other side.
Yep.
At some point, it's revealed that I don't even know if it's a reveal. Like, Steela and her crew just kind of walk up on the crowd, and the crowd is like 30 people. Does not seem to be that many. There's a whole bunch of everybody's like nodding at each other, like, all right, we're gonna do the thing. Like, we're getting ready to do the plan. I got to nod at you. You got to nod at me. She's gonna nod at him. And yada yada. Steela says, "Wait for my signal." She doesn't have a signal, right? When it comes time, she just yells, "Now!" And Lux, who is standing right next to her, just like throws a gun in the air, and then she like jumps on his shoulders or something.
Yeah,
and they totally Robin Hood this execution to nothingness. But then they're all caught, right?
Real fast,
because there's 5 of them, and there's a whole bunch of droids.
And super battle droids, too.
Lux does get a couple of good lashes in on Rash. Like, the first thing he does is, like, run up and just, like, hit him in the back of the head with something. And then I think...
Why don't they kill him? This is my question. Would that put them in a bad light?
They're not murderers. They're just,
or at least why don't they capture him? They grab Dendup, but they could easily have the moment to capture King Rash as well.
At least like hold him hostage.
Yeah.
So they can get away or something.
Something like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But they kind of just push him to the ground and then like move forward. Like,
yeah.
Like, you have the chance to like get some real leverage, you know.
Yep.
Like, I get that might again, there's this weird emphasis on public perception.
I think that's probably what it is.
It's still weird. I mean, you're breaking out a prisoner still.
But he's the true king. He shouldn't be imprisoned.
Yeah, sure. So, how do they get out of this one?
Tandon, who has been overseeing all of this, you see him kind of watching, and then he turns around and walks somewhere, right? You don't see him anymore. He leaves his ledge of observation. And so Steela and her crew are surrounded by battle droids, and then King Rash is like, yes, now you see these rebels, they will all be executed for their treasonous war crimes, or whatever he says. So King Dendup's neck is back on the line, and then we see Ahsoka walking through the crowd, and she pulls her lightsaber out, and she's kind of just like meandering her way with purpose in between people, working her way through the crowd pretty quickly. And the first time I watched this, my expectation is that she was going to do something to save the day, right? That's not the case. Tandon calls for the king to stop, and the king's like, oh, what the heck is going on this time? You know, like, what is it now? And Tandon is like, I'm not the traitor, you're the traitor, or I was a traitor, but now I'm not. And like, he and Saw like wink at each other or something. And he does what you said that they should have done earlier, and he grabs King Rash. Not even with a weapon? Does he have a weapon? He has a staff, right?
It's kind of
a spear.
That. Yeah, but he kind of just chokeholds King Rash, basically.
Yeah, and then all the guards have, because Tandon comes down with some guards, and they all have like pointy sticks. They're bizarrely shaped spears, I guess. Holding a spear to a super battle droid does not seem particularly effective, but it works in this situation. Ahsoka is able to stash her lightsaber, and then everybody kind of slowly backs away as far as the Steela group Guerrera. And then Tandon orders his guards, like, everybody, he says everybody go with them. So I imagine there's like some doofus in the crowd like, oh, all right, we're going with these people now. Like, came to watch some execution, but I'm leaving with the Guerrera group. But yeah, I guess he's just talking to his guards, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. So then King Rash is saying, oh, what are you going to do now? Like, as soon as you let me go, all the droids are going to kill you. And of course, Ahsoka comes up and just does a wicked force push, knocks them all down. And she's like, yo, General, come with me. And they haul ass out of there. And then the citizens like come up because they've like been cheering and not cheering this whole time. And they just kind of like put their hands on the chests of the super battle droids, and super battle droids stop. Like, I imagine what would really happen is that these droids would just be blasting people left and right.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
20
we'd
minutes
have
ago.
Tiananmen Square situation for sure.
Yeah. But I guess that works.
Yeah.
Like, the crowd fights back, and then so that's over. Nobody dies. I don't even think any droids are particularly injured, or too many of them. I think maybe a couple of Magna droids like earlier, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So then we get a meeting with Dendup, Lux, and Guerrera group. Dendup says Dooku will want me dead now more than ever, and I think they're basically like, okay, well, we'll deal with it. You know, we'll keep you alive. And then, of course, Ahsoka has to talk to Obi-Wan and Anakin again.
Yeah.
And she's like, hey, the Separatists definitely know that we're involved because, you know, they saw me and people were crying, Jedi! And all that jazz. Obi-Wan.
Dendup says something weird, too, earlier, where he says that they have to win the will of the people for the rebellion to take hold.
And it seems like they've already done that.
Right. Like, this is really weird to me because, like, we now have 2 episodes in a row that set up this premise of, like, must win the support of the citizens. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of both of these episodes, there is examples of that happening. But yet there's still, like, a moment of like, oh shucks, we still gotta make sure we're on the good terms with the people, which I find interesting.
Yeah, I think that the fact that like this group of citizens just deadpan face down some super battle droids kind of should show you, Dendup, that you got the people on your side.
Yeah, it's a weird.
Which is also weird because these are the same people that came to your execution. Like their expectation is that you were going to die in front of them, have your head cut off by some space guillotine.
Yeah, and then it's weird.
None of them are crying out like free the king, free the king. They're just like, oh shit, public execution, let's do it, Right. And then very quickly they're putting their lives on the line against some super battle droids. Crazy.
Yeah. The citizens do whatever the story needs them to do at that very moment. So. Yeah,
I guess so. But then, we end this episode on another Ahsoka talking to Obi-Wan and Anakin. And after she says that, the Separatists know that we're back in the Rebels, Obi-Wan doesn't say, oh, like, no, we're not back in the Rebels. Like, you're supposed to stay out of it, blah, blah, blah. He says, prepare because the real fight is yet to come. And then she's like, oh, well, so the Council's going to send reinforcements, right? Like, the Republic is going to come and help. And Anakin says, that's up to the Council.
Right.
That's the last line of dialogue. That's the last thing that happens.
Yeah.
Cue loud music, I guess. Iris in.
Yeah. I don't know.
Cut to credits.
Credits.
That's it.
Yep. That's the end of this one.
Yeah.
All right, man.
What'd you think about it?
Yeah. I didn't hate this episode as much as I disliked the other two, right? But it's still clunky to me.
McClunky.
So it's very McClunky. So I'm still giving this one a thumbs down.
It's agree
close.
with you.
This one's much closer than the other. The other two were very solidly thumbs down for me. There are good things, or there's the shell of like good happening in this episode that just it doesn't quite add up. And I think it's me trying to add a lot of context outside on context to this episode where like the execution almost felt like they were trying to go for Game of Thrones, which would have just premiered the year before, right? So there's an execution scene in season 1 of Game of Thrones that like involves a character amongst the crowd, but like main characters up on the platform with a main character that may or may not be executed, right? And there's an interesting dynamic there of like, can people on the stage save the person being executed, or will it be the people in the crowd that do that, right? And in this one, like they're setting up that same dynamic, but there's just no tension to it because they're moving too fast through the motions of like, hey, we're gonna execute this guy, hey, stop the execution, It's stuff like that where like they just needed to let the episode like the other two, or almost opposite of the other two. The other two could have been melded into one, and we wouldn't have lost anything. But in this one, there was like time that they needed to kind of like let it breathe in certain parts, and then rush through other things that I just didn't care about.
Yes.
So,
and I find that interesting. I like your opinion. One, I agree with you. This is a thumbs down.
Yeah.
This is where we start to differ in our opinions. This is less good than the last two thumbs downs that I gave.
Yeah.
I got a Robin Hood vibe, right? Not a Game of Thrones vibe.
Yeah.
I can see where you're coming from. Totally makes sense. And I don't feel like this episode was like running through things too quickly. I don't think anything happened. Like, there's
I don't
only
disagree with you.
there's only about a third of an episode worth of things that actually happened in this episode with a bunch of other stuff.
Right.
There are some cool shots. There are a couple of interesting plot points. There's this cool space guillotine. I like Tandon, but overall, I'm like, I was bored watching this.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy it as much as the last one, and I didn't really enjoy that one.
Right.
And I don't know, like, okay, you got the king out. You had this Robin Hood execution, no execution scene. You got Tandon. That's about it. Move on.
Yeah, the problem with this episode for sure is that because I'm not gonna lie, as we sat down to do this, we both prepped for 2, and this is the first of the 2 that we had prepped for.
Correct.
And because of the weird clunky nature of how many actions are happening within a single episode, I almost for a second forgot what happened where.
Mm-hmm.
Because to your point, there is like, first problem, guy's gonna get executed. So, solution, we're gonna try and break him out, but it's gonna be one guy. Oh, second problem, he got captured.
Mm-hmm.
So now we gotta break out 2 people.
Now the problem's twice as bad.
Right. So, like, that happened. And so, like, they try and break him out. But then now, third problem, they're all captured. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the clunkiness here, right? That they're focusing on the wrong parts and then running out of runway, right? The runway is short by the time they get to the parts that could ratchet up the tension a bit. Yep. Or now that we're at the 3rd episode of this arc and there's clearly more to come, it's clear to me that between 3 episodes, we at best have 1.5 episodes worth of material. You know,
I agree with you.
The first 2 episodes easily could be one single episode, but even then, this one could be streamlined. You know, it just needed a strong script editor, but I think with the speed of which they have to like barrel through the show and write and animate and all of that jazz, like, I don't know, I think they were like moving too fast through certain checks and balances of, hey, does this script make sense? Do all of these actions make sense?
Yeah, I don't want to. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I had a thought, but I'm gonna keep it for later. I'm going to go back to a previous thought though. So this episode is called "The Soft War."
Yeah.
2 weeks ago was a war on 2 fronts, and we were trying to figure out where the 2 fronts were there.
Yep. No clue. No fucking clue.
What does the soft war mean? Because this is like, as you brought up earlier, this is the first time we have like explosives and potential collateral damage. Like, this is the hardest war that we've seen on Onderon so far. You might say that there is a war on 2 fronts because King Rash is fighting these rebels, and all of a sudden he is fighting who is supposed to be the general of his security force.
His actual crew. I don't fucking know. Number one, is soft war a phrase outside of Star Wars that you've ever heard of? Because I'm not gonna lie. If I'm missing some big cultural thing in our history that I'm like Cold Wars, yes, like there is a thing that we apply the term Cold War to, but like lowercase c, lowercase w, Cold War is a state of war that exists. Hence, we then call something a capital C cold, capital W war.
Yes,
right?
Soft war is a thing.
It's not like soft power. I that's a concept I know. I've never heard the concept of soft war though. you know.
Yeah.
So, as to how it applies to this, the fact that we're both adults and we have no fucking clue.
I have never heard this term before, but
Okay, so well, at least it's not just me. Like soft power, I get that. You know, like the gentle easing of other external factors to assert your own power in some form. You know,
mm-hmm.
that makes sense. But as how that applies to a war, I'm sure some historian can like lay down examples for us that would make it very clear. I'm sure that there might be other, like, I've heard so many other adjectives put in front of the word war that it's weird that I haven't come across like proxy wars, you know, like that's one.
Here's the briefest of descriptions that I can find. By contrast, soft war is a much broader concept and includes all non-kinetic measures, whether pervasive or coercive, including cyber warfare and economic sanctions, media warfare and propaganda, nonviolent resistance and civil disobedience, boycotts, and lawfare. In quotations.
Okay, all of that makes complete sense to me. All of that makes exact sense to me. How the fuck does that apply to this episode?
I think it doesn't.
Like, the only thing I can think of is that the Jedi sent in a trainer, or sent in like 3 advisors, and therefore from their standpoint they're not the ones waging the war, but that's still a shaky.
I think somebody saw the word resistance, and since these rebel fighters, like Saw says, resistance is not terrorism, they're like, resistance? Soft war. Here we go.
I don't.
Um,
No, I'm at a loss for this one.
Yeah, this just adds to my thumbs down here.
Yeah, that one for sure. I got nothing on that one. So, yeah, I can't. We're 3 for 3 on the thumbs down on this one.
I tell you what, I don't know. I'll have to look back, but I don't know that I've had a 3 in a row week of thumbs down.
Clone Wars.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I know I have at some point for sure. I'm more curious at this point what my longest streak of thumbs down was, but
I think it's 5 or 6.
Oh man, this isn't good.
Definitely at least 7. Just saw one of those.
Oh really?
Yep.
Jesus fucking Christ. Anyways, I don't know, man. Like this arc is. Like the shell of a good arc is here. Like the concept is sound, the setup is there, but it's the fine details of the execution of how this all plays out, no pun intended, is just I'm just shaking my head. I don't know.
Lorenzo nearly has his head in his hands.
Oh, basically, it's yeah.
As much as you can with a microphone in front of you. So I'm gonna go ahead and guess that that's about all you got for this week.
That is. Close it out, man.
So not only closing out this show, but also next week we will be closing out this story arc, fingers crossed, an episode called Tipping Points, plural.
Nope, I don't like it. I already don't like it. Just
in the meantime, head on over to notthenerds.com. You can find all links and playlist and whatnot. Send a friend over there and introduce them to the world of Lorenzo and Kevin. Behind the scenes nerds, we got Anthony, Kevin, and Lindsay as usual. I think all of their info is on notthenerds.com also. If not, I will try to get that worked out, just to save us a bit of time and at the end of these things. But yeah, next week, season 5, episode 5, Tipping Points. Until then, I've been Kevin.
I've been Lorenzo.
These aren't the nerds you're looking for.
Bye-bye.